Today, we're going to dive into a simple yet incredibly powerful concept that can transform the way women respond to you, especially as you get older. And here's the surprising part, it has nothing to do with having more money. It has nothing to do with being more handsome. And it certainly has nothing to do with using those overused pickup lines that flood the internet. The real secret lies in just 2 words. These words tap into something much deeper within the female mind, creating emotional connections that most men never even realize are possible. In this video, I'll reveal exactly what those 2 words are, explain the psychology behind why they work, and uncover the subtle detail that almost everyone overlooks. Ironically, that overlooked detail is often what separates the men women quickly forget from the men they continue thinking about long after the conversation ends. So stay with me until the very end, because what you're about to learn could completely transform the way you communicate with women. Let me share something I've discovered over the years. I've spent countless hours studying interactions between men and women, observing what truly creates attraction and what quietly pushes it away. And one pattern became impossible to ignore. The men who naturally attract women aren't always the most physically attractive. They're not necessarily the wealthiest or the most socially popular either. Instead, they're the men who understand one surprisingly simple principle: emotionally direct communication. While most men get trapped in endless small talk, constantly trying to impress, avoid mistakes, or seek approval, the men who consistently stand out approach conversations differently. They rely on 2 simple words that function almost like master keys, unlocking emotional doors inside the female subconscious. The human brain naturally reacts to specific communication patterns. Certain phrases immediately create trust, confidence, and emotional engagement. These 2 words, when spoken sincerely and at the right moment, create what psychologists often describe as positive emotional anchoring. In other words, they connect your presence with a strong emotional experience that lingers in her mind long after you've left. So let's begin with the first one. The first phrase is, "I want." At first glance, it almost sounds too basic to matter. But don't underestimate its power. The moment a man confidently says, "I want," something important happens. He's taking ownership of his desires. He's not asking for permission. He's not nervously testing whether she'll approve. He's simply expressing himself honestly and directly. And here's something many men fail to understand about female psychology. Women are naturally drawn to men who know what they want. Why? Because certainty communicates leadership. It signals confidence. It shows that you're capable of making decisions instead of placing the burden of every choice on her shoulders. Think about these 2 examples. Imagine saying, "I'm not sure, maybe we could hang out sometime if you feel like it." Now compare that with, "I want to take you out for dinner this Saturday. I know a place you'll really enjoy." Can you feel the difference? The first sentence communicates hesitation. It quietly reveals uncertainty, fear of rejection, and a lack of direction. The second sentence communicates purpose. It tells her you're comfortable taking initiative. You're not begging for attention or desperately hoping she'll rescue the conversation. You're inviting her into an experience you've already decided is worth sharing. And let me be clear, this isn't about dominating the conversation or acting aggressively. Confidence and aggression are not the same thing. This is about healthy assertiveness. It's about having enough self-respect to openly express your intentions instead of hiding them behind uncertainty. When you communicate this way, you naturally create what's often referred to as masculine-feminine polarity. You position yourself as someone willing to lead, which often allows her to relax emotionally instead of feeling like she has to manage every interaction herself. Now let's move to the second phrase. This is the one that truly changes everything. The second phrase is, "I appreciate." Pay close attention here because this is where emotional attraction reaches an entirely different level. If you only say, "I want," you risk appearing self-centered. She may begin to wonder whether your focus is entirely on satisfying your own desires. But the moment you combine "I want" with "I appreciate," everything shifts. Suddenly you're communicating two powerful qualities at once. You have confidence and initiative, but you also possess emotional awareness and genuine appreciation. Here's an example. Instead of simply saying, "I want to see you again," imagine saying, "I want to see you again because I genuinely appreciate the way you think." Conversations with you have a depth that's difficult to find. Notice how much more meaningful that feels. You're no longer expressing attraction based only on desire. You're showing that you've actually noticed who she is beyond her appearance. You're recognizing qualities that many people overlook. And that's incredibly powerful. Most men give compliments that sound almost identical. You look beautiful. You're gorgeous. You're so attractive. There's nothing wrong with those compliments, but they're incredibly common. Almost every woman has heard them countless times before. When you tell her you appreciate her intelligence, her perspective, her kindness, her sense of humor, or the unique energy she brings into a conversation, you're communicating something entirely different. You're demonstrating that you actually see her as an individual rather than simply admiring her appearance. That creates emotional depth. And here's something even more important. When appreciation is genuine, it communicates abundance rather than neediness. You're not telling her that you need her validation or attention. You're showing that you've chosen to value her because of who she is. That distinction is subtle, but women often recognize it almost immediately. If you're finding this valuable so far, take a moment to leave a like below. It lets me know you're serious about improving your communication skills and becoming a more confident, emotionally intelligent man. Now let's talk about the mistake that ruins everything we've discussed. The biggest mistake is using these words without congruence. So what exactly does congruence mean? Congruence is when your body language, facial expressions, tone of voice, and spoken words all communicate the same message. Imagine saying, "I want to take you out to dinner," while avoiding eye contact, speaking softly, hunching your shoulders, and nervously shifting your feet. Your words may express confidence, but your body tells an entirely different story. And here's the reality. The female brain is remarkably skilled at detecting these inconsistencies. It's almost like an emotional lie detector. Long before she consciously analyzes your words, her subconscious notices whether your behavior matches what you're saying. That's why confidence cannot simply be spoken. It has to be demonstrated. When you say, "I want," stand comfortably. Keep your posture relaxed but upright. Make natural eye contact. Speak at a calm pace instead of rushing your words. Then, when you say, "I appreciate," slow down slightly. Allow a brief pause before speaking. Let your facial expression soften. Give your words enough space for genuine sincerity to come through. These tiny adjustments may seem insignificant, but together they dramatically increase the emotional impact of everything you say. This is actually one of the key ideas I explore in much greater depth inside my complete guide, Attraction Secrets. In that program, I don't just explain what to say. I also teach how to align your energy, your presence, your body language, and your emotional state so that every sentence carries authenticity instead of feeling rehearsed. Because the truth is, words alone rarely create attraction. The person delivering those words does. And there's one final element that's absolutely essential. Timing. You don't walk around repeating, "I want," and "I appreciate," in every conversation like they're magic phrases. That would sound unnatural and robotic. Instead, you use them intentionally during meaningful moments. You use them when you genuinely want to express your intentions. You use them when you want to create an emotional memory that she'll associate with you. Imagine you've just spent an amazing evening together. As the date comes to an end, you look into her eyes and calmly say, "I want to do this again. I really appreciate the energy you bring whenever we're together." That's all. No dramatic speech. No desperate attempt to impress. Just honest, emotionally grounded communication. In that single moment, you've created a powerful positive emotional anchor. Every time she remembers you, she's far more likely to reconnect with the feeling of being understood, appreciated, desired, and emotionally safe, all at the same time.